9:44. How you doing, guy?
How you doing?
You getting short days around here? Or
Yeah.
you know, you get a hurt the Viejas?
No, not yet. Haven't heard from them yet.
That's probably, they did a background check.
Yeah, I know they have to do that. So
They find out all that stuff and,
I knew I shouldn't have ran down the street naked that one time on Fireball.
Right.
Didn't think I got caught though.
Oh, the videos are everywhere. Hi.
Oh, I don't know. I see him walking around the yard in the street more, or once in a while.
I'm not sitting in front of the office. I'll be seeing you for a few minutes.
Working on it. No, I mean, I don't know. It's just how it is.
Hello, Mr. Kramer.
Hi there, how are you?
Thank you for all you do.
You got my emails this morning, right?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. My wife's got the statement.
I just sort of summarized it in the middle of a bunch of other stuff, because,
You just want this to
put it on
state-
record.
Yeah, just say these are being handed over, you know. And he seemed pretty good. I think they'll get it.
Oh, I hope you understand my, yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
do.
no, I do, yeah.
Phil totally supports, but, you know, we're retired, our house was paid for, we moved here. I can't risk it. He would consider it, risking
Thanks.
it,
No problem.
you know, and.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I can't-
well, there's no risk.
I can't do that. Well,
Right. I know.
yeah,
But-
but he's Mr. Negative over there.
Right.
But he does support us.
Yep.
Ooh, I got paper blown.
Oh, now,
So I'm imagining you got that. Ask Cheif. I don't think it's necessary. Unless you want him, Matt, but
Maybe afterward.
I think we're good. Oh, I scratched the pen over there.
why are these attachments never part of the posted minutes, ever?
What attachment?
This is the first time I've ever seen.
You mean on the website?
Yeah.
Because we've always done just the agenda and minutes. That's how they did it before I even came along.
I mean, you're required to do the whole thing.
Well, talk to the board about it.
Oh, it's law.
That really works.
Well, talk to the board. I mean, that's
I know.
how Sean always, that's all we always.
I know, I'm just,
I
But
didn't
it
know.
doesn't really give you an opportunity to consider the issues when, you know, half an inch of stuff is attached at the meeting that isn't posted, and the minute, and the agenda is required to be posted.
Okay, well, talk to the board.
Thanks, Missy.
I'll do
I'm
whatever-
not being critical, I mean, I know you're just.
I don't
doing
know,
your job.
I don't even know the answer to that.
Yeah. Hi, good morning.
howdy, how you doing, Tony?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Thing. That's all I got on there. I put it on there. Just I want you guys to decide on the invoice. I don't want to open
I
But I
agree.
just sent you that stuff, it just went to the board yesterday, that was all their stuff, because Chris wanted to get paid, and I said, well, you need to tell me why you should be paid, so I can tell the board. So he wrote it up, but I got all that stuff for you guys.
I don't think anybody wants it out. It'll go to
Well,
court.
that's what I mean.
Right. I
All I
don't think
want to do
it's
is,
aired. It's
since
just
he didn't do all the work, I told him that, I go, we shouldn't, and so he said,
You
well,
got my
you've already
Disneyland
paid.
tickets?
He goes, I'm not charging this at $1,700 for the work that I didn't do to finish the engine. So that's what the discussion's about, and hopefully it just stays there. We don't need to go into all
Thank you.
stuff that happened.
All right.
he's not here, no. He's in PA. Well, he's in the air right now, supposedly.
Yeah. You want to send that, Brian? And then I'll. Hi, Jack. Oh, did that blow off my table?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
County wildland drill, I forgot about that.
Oh.
No. I didn't have to put it in.
Morning, Ida. Finish back on the bag. Harassment.
Did you bring your snackies? I texted you this morning. I'm all bring snacks. That girl.
I don't need a snack. I've changed my flight for I knew you would handle it well, but I thought it'd be nice to crowd spinning. For the most part, they're usual. I think it's good. I didn't prepare anything, but I'm planning on saying a few words.
Before we vote. I just explain where I've come from.
Sure. I think that's very good.
Kuiper. Kuiper.
Remember how you voted last time, and I'm wondering why you changed your vote. Morning.
I got your check cut for the 8 out for down at the court.
Oh, cool. Is it here or is
You'll
it?
see it in your account the 13th.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Jason,
Good to see you guys.
I just wanted to let
enjoy
you know
your
'cause we
vacation
were like,
again?
Yes.
Hawaii's awesome, man.
look, he's
Listening to
still
the
tan.
whales. Oh, yeah. Listening to the whales.
Awesome, I
While
bet.
scuba diving.
We did a helicopter trip over to one of the islands, and then coming back, seeing all the whales in the channel. That was amazing. Seeing breaching and just,
We rented a boat and did our own with all the whale things.
yeah, we did that, did the boat trip on a catamaran that went out there.
Oh,
Yeah. It
so
was-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the birthing season, so all the babies and mamas,
Oh,
they're jumping and breaching just all over the place.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's way cool.
Well, I would love to go do
Oh,
that.
you should. It's a life-changing experience.
So that's in March.
It starts in February and goes through
Because you went in March, didn't you?
March. Goes through March. April, by mid-April, it's like
They're
gone
done.
away.
It's done.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Same.
remember that.
Yeah.
down in Mexico, right?
They go back to
Catalina.
Alaska.
Yeah. But they're out there in the lagoon.
But the time to like the peak of the season is like the end of February. End of February, early March is the peak of the season. It's awesome.
I gotta go do that.
Yeah, when you hear them, that's cool.
Oh yeah.
I've been scuba diving and you hear them, it's like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Is it like loud?
They're
Do you hear it loud or?
Depends on how close they
They
are.
were they're like probably 100 yards out, and I jumped in the water just to go under the water and listen to it singing.
Yeah.
You can almost feel it against your body.
Yeah.
The vibration.
It's
Wow.
like a sonar, low frequency, right?
Okay.
Ready? Time.
Pound that gavel, Jack.
Can I move off until after all the other people? I want to share with the last.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
And we're going to be considering consolidation, so if that's the subject of your speech, it shouldn't come here.
Okay, I put it on that thing.
That's fine. I got it.
Yeah, I'll be on the very end because I know they're going to bring all that up and I'll talk before we say that.
Look, this is the one.
Just take, yeah, that's me. Just put me.
Is this your water?
Yes.
I was gonna say, I brought mine.
Please have as I drink it.
That's what we do at home. It's great.
Good morning. I'd like to call the April regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Julian-Cuyamaca Fire Protection District to order. The roll has been circulated by the Secretary, so we'll move to open communication, oral communication. We'll have 15 minutes set aside for oral communications. I have a list of 6 people who want to speak, and we will move on the agenda in 15 minutes, whether those folks have had a chance to speak or not. But to remind you that there are 4 public hearings on the agenda today, and 1 or 2 other items of business. If you want to speak to any of those issues that are up, any of the 4 public hearing items or any of the other items on the agenda, please hold your remarks until that time. The open agenda time is available. Oral communication is to speak to any item that's not otherwise on the agenda. With those remarks, we will move on to oral communications. The first speaker who signed up is Steve Logan.
Good morning. Morning. I have served this community since the late 70s of my retirement until 04. I was a highway patrolman up here, and prior to living and coming up here, I have worked with all East County volunteer fire departments. Every one of them, Del Zero, Huckamba, you name it. Prior to my living here, I worked the 94 area, which has volunteer fire departments. I'd like to stress that because of previous fire captains, the Lewises and Dublers, they have made this volunteer fire department what it is today. I would really like to have a vote and not just have it arbitrarily decision made by the members. One other point I think that is important, that anyone that has their house for sale or plans to move off the hill should recuse themselves from voting. Thank you.
Thank you. You were speaking to item 13 on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
If anybody else wants to speak to item 13, if you would wait until that item comes up on the agenda, please. Moving on, Pat Landis.
Good morning. My name is Pat Landis. I live in Wynola. I would like to say that I have been spearheading the initiative that's going to be on the ballot. We've collected over 300 signatures. We have a copy of the registered voter list. I have validated 90% of those signatures, so the initiative will be on the ballot. I'd like to say also that in 1984, the benefit fee for $50 was passed with over 70% of the vote. In 2006, the benefit fee for this fire station was passed with over 70% of the vote. I believe the initiative, firmly have confidence that the initiative will pass with over 50% of the vote. It will be on the ballot, it will pass. Just to let you know, the Fire Plugs is sending out a donation letter this week to property owners down the hill. In the past, when we did this, the first time we did it, we collected over $38,000. The second time, we collected over $40,000. This time, the letter is asking that donations be sent to the Fire Plugs, not to JCFPD, because we don't know what the future will be for JCFPD. Whatever monies we receive, and we expect we'll receive thousands of dollars, all of that money will be going to attorneys to fight LAFCO. So instead of the fire department, JCFPD, receiving $30,000, $40,000 in cash to be supported, we're going to use the money to fight the fire department. That's a shame, and that's a shame on you. Thank you.
Toni Harter.
Part of my comments do have to do with the agenda item, but the last time I reserved my time for the agenda item, you closed discussion and I wasn't permitted to make that comment. So first of all, in the news this morning, I woke up and heard that Julian is dismantling its fire department today because the county pulled their funding and fire truck. It failed to mention that we never needed the county truck, and the funding was a big $60,000 of our own property tax, sales tax, Julian funds returned to us in an extremely small amount by the county. California Service Area 135, established in 2008, that we want to dissolve and be part of them, provides county dependence governance. 1.5 acres was service provided through contracts with CAL FIRE. 19 of the former volunteer and contracted stations have a lower service level since becoming part of California Service Area 135, controlled by the County Board of Supervisors and San Diego County Fire Authority, which has no fire department, and fire protection is not in the county charter. It's a betrayal of the community. The people who voted for the board to support our district, the people who volunteer their time and financial support, the Mosler Trust that gave you the land for this fire station, to even consider dissolving is a betrayal of the entire community. In 2003, as you all know, the board voted to remain an independent fire district. The boards continued to vote repeatedly to remain independent until the February 13th meeting. That's the one where I wasn't allowed to make any remarks, when a motion was made to negotiate with the county. When the motion was made, it was said it was not a vote for dissolution, just to see what the county would offer. At this meeting, I asked that my comments be used for that item. However, the motion to negotiate was made and voted on without the board explaining what negotiations meant, why this item was on the agenda, and no public comment was allowed. This vote was one of many Brown Act violations, as there was no proper disclosure by the board and no public comment prior to voting. Voting on today's resolution is another violation. The resolution should not be voted on. If a vote is taken, it should be denied and continued until these violations are addressed. Why couldn't the vote wait until after the evening meeting? We had an evening meeting, so people, the silent majority that couldn't come in the daytime or was afraid of the supporters, could make comments. In consideration of the overwhelmingly support for independence at that meeting, do you think the February vote should be nullified? Did you consider any of those comments, or was that just a formality to get the 21 days on the hearing over with? One explanation given by Aida's daughter for dissolution in a letter posted on CAL FIRE's social media page said that Julian has outgrown its fire department. I don't believe the population has had an increase. Real estate sales for 2016 and 17 demonstrate that the majority, I mean like 97% of the houses sold during that period were never occupied by owners. They were vacation rentals. The essence of Julian community is not represented by the Disneyland atmosphere you see every weekend. JCFPD is the last volunteer district or fire station in San Diego County unincorporated area. We have more to lose. We have all of this, and we're going to get one truck, two guys, maybe three. We have more to lose. We need to work together to preserve what little community we have left. Instead of encouraging ways to provide financial support for the district, like grants, fundraising, assessment, community appeal, reserves have been depleted because financial failure makes the county's offer more acceptable. Same reason we have a dispatch service contract with the county when Heartland offers a far superior dispatch service. Fire departments in Riverside, San Luis Obispo, and other counties are canceling their contracts with CAL FIRE and going back to volunteers because they can't afford the union wages and pension benefits. We do not have that option. We're required to dissolve and transfer all our assets according to the terms and conditions offered by the county. And if that was a negotiation, I don't get what we're getting. It's not a fair, they get this, we get this. I don't get how that was a negotiation. Julian homes are built on rough mountain terrain. Although there's a standard San Diego County fire truck in their terms, wouldn't a more maneuverable four-wheel drive work better in our unique community? JCFPD has support vehicles with specialized equipment for many visitors who frequently go over steep slopes and roll their motorcycle on a blind curve. I think you should let the community vote. I'm providing to you comments, which I respectfully request be officially entered into the minutes of today's meeting. This concerns the Brown Act violations that were not cured at the April 5th meeting.
Thank you. Allison Shank.
I just wanted to address the board one last time and make a plea that you leave it to the voters in November. I really do believe that...
Are you speaking to item 13 on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, you know, I believe that what's happened here, we've been blackmailed by our county supervisor. This has been unethical, and it just isn't right. And so I ask that the board members will let the people vote. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy Peyocof.
Thank you. Mine's a little more general to kind of the board and everybody. With everything going on, I really have just put a lot of heartfelt and thought into this. And 18 years ago was one of the worst elections in the history of Julian. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I was on the ballot for that one. And I became a school board member. And I got on the board, and within a very short period of time, I started asking questions that were monetary about the money that was being spent and fiduciary responsibility and things that were going on. And I was promptly sued for $7 million. And most people don't know that. For 4 years, I had a lawsuit over my head. And I won. In the long run, I had the right to do that. But my kids suffered because they couldn't finish their education, and they are 3 generations of graduates up here. And so they had to get certain classes somewhere else to be able to get their diplomas. And then a few years later, when the board changed, I don't know how many of you like that library. And it's a beautiful library that we have in town, and I was the swing vote. I was the one that changed my mind. Because I didn't think that we should give our land away to the county. And I didn't think we should have a library in the size that they wanted it. And the board sat there and worked together and didn't badger me and beat me up like I was before. And we got through it, and we have a beautiful library. And I'm very proud of that. And that was something that I can say I was glad I changed my vote on. The third one was more recently, and I was on the board, and it was the Jess Martin Park. And I was badgered and beat up, and my mother was badgered and beat up as school board members because we didn't think the school should have to pay taxes on the park. And we voted against it, and we lost friends, and we lost all kinds of people that wouldn't speak to us. And I'm so proud of my mom, and I'm proud of the decision I made. And even though I made the decision to go the other way with the park, I don't like it on my taxes, but I sure like seeing all the people in the park. And we have a beautiful county park. And so there are times that you have to take your emotions out and look at everything and try and make the best decision you can for the community. And so whatever it is, whichever way it goes, I guess I would ask, because most everybody, you don't remember 18 years ago. You don't know what I went through as a board member and how agonizing I'll never forget. And those people that badgered me, they don't even live here in this community anymore. So I had to walk around and hold my head up with the decision I made with everybody in the community, because I get my mail at the post office. So I hope whatever way it goes, I hope that this community can come back from whatever it is, because it's not the end of the world, just like it wasn't the end of the world for me to give away land, and it wasn't the end of the world for me to be on my taxes, and the same is going to go today. So thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. And Phill Grim.
I was going to be talking about the topic 13, so.
13.
You want me to do it now? I can do it
No.
now, or you can-
Let's wait until that item's on the agenda. We will move to any changes to the agenda, Chief? Consent calendar. Does any member of the board wish to remove any item from the consent calendar?
Well, I'd make a motion that we postpone this meeting and the vote on the resolutions until we have a full board. I think it's too important to have one of our board members missing.
Is there a second to that motion? Seeing none, we'll move on. We're still on the consent calendar. Yes.
When I heard that a board member was going to be here, I actually ran in from the library or the post office, and I asked him, should we vote? And he says, yeah, go ahead. So I feel like I don't need to second that motion because of that. I have
Hearsay, but.
Okay, let's move on to consent calendar. Again, does anyone wish to remove any item from the consent calendar? Anyone in the audience wish to remove any item from the consent calendar for further information? Questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I make that motion.
Ida moves. Is there a second? Kirsten seconds to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. No? Abstain?
I'll abstain.
One abstention. 3 votes in favor. Motion carries. We'll move to the Chief's report.
Okay, guess that everybody can hear me. We had our HP RAN finally got installed a couple weeks ago, so we have internet now through AT&T and HP RAN, and soon there'll be cameras mounted at that antenna you see outside, and that'll also run the rip and run there, so when we get calls, it's not hooked up yet, but when we get calls, guys can come out and pull off a piece of paper and it tells them where the call is and directions and all that. So that's kind of latest technology. If you don't know what HP RAN is, it's a series of cameras and internet connectivity that serves the backcountry. That was funded by a federal grant through a college or university here in the backcountry, and pretty much most of the local agencies are using it now to get internet service. So we're fortunate enough to have AT&T here, so we've been using that, but we're going to kind of see which works better. So that's up and running. We had our first installment, $25,000 for a GEMT grant, and that's a grant that we've been getting the last couple of years that we discovered that we can help close the gap on our ambulance funding, and that's been helping us a lot on our ambulance side of the program. That's why you see a building reserve in our ambulance budget, is because of that grant. Our state homeland security grant was approved for $7,000, so Missy's working on purchasing equipment. We were going to get on that. Collections on the ambulance have still been good. I think still Disneyland was gracious enough to give us free tickets, but we had to have IDs. Well, our equipment was antiquated and stuff, so Missy got on it and got IDs for everybody who asked for them, and so they're going to get some free Disneyland tickets for the volunteers. Our paramedic and EMS director, Mike Enberg, has resigned. He got a job at Cornell Fire Department, so he's gone. It was his last day before yesterday. We've hired Brian DeGrady to replace him as a medic, and then we've hired Matt Rios as our new EMS director. He'll be putting in 16 hours a week as our EMS director. He's also a part-time paramedic. He used to be a full-time medic here years ago before my time. And then we had a change on our fleet mechanic, our past fleet mechanic. He's not working on our fleet anymore, so I met with John Ferguson Monday. He's up here in Julian, and he agreed to be our fleet mechanic, and that's effective immediately. That's about all I have. Any questions from the board?
Any questions on the chief's report? Brian?
Edinburgh's left now?
Yep.
Okay. And who's the new guy?
Negrete.
Brian Reed?
Negrete.
Oh, McGreedy?
Negrete. Negrete.
Okay. What's his first name?
Any questions?
Brian?
As I understand it, one of our board members went to the shop where our engine was and upset them enough that they said they won't work on our equipment anymore. I'm sorry, I can't hear that.
You got to talk in your microphone, Jack.
Oh, okay. That concludes the chief's report. We'll move on to public hearings. First public hearing, number 10 on the agenda, is to adopt a resolution, number 2018-01, making the annual required continued participation of the San Diego County Fire Mitigation Fee Ordinance for fiscal year 2018-2019. We have to adopt this resolution every year if we wish to continue collecting the mitigation fees. And they represent about $10,000 in our budget, which are needed to pay the note on this building. The benefit fee, which is levied, $50, essentially approximately for every home, does not raise enough money to cover the loan payments. We collect about $110,000 in loan payments, about $125,000. That $10,000 in mitigation fees doesn't quite cover the balance, so we have to finish the balance of that payment out of our general fund. Are there any questions on what that fee is and why we collect it? Be happy to let the chief answer. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution, adopt the resolution? I'm sorry.
Make the motion to adopt the resolution 2018-01.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded to approve the resolution authorizing collection of the mitigation fee. Any discussion?
We need to do a roll call.
Okay.
So.
Actually, we have to hold a public hearing.
Okay.
I will open the public hearing to consider adoption of the resolution. Missy, do you verify that the publication notice for the hearing was held?
Yes.
And I did a little brief explanation of the purpose of the hearing. Any further staff report? Written or oral comments from the public. Does anyone wish to speak to the adoption of this resolution authorizing collection of the mitigation fee? Seeing none, any further questions from the board?
This is just to collect it and keep it for us, right?
I'm sorry?
This is just us collecting it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just the same
Us using
every
it.
year, right?
If we don't adopt the resolution, then we don't collect the fees.
Right, right,
The county collects it, and then we draw from it.
right. That's
Yeah.
that one thing they do every 6 months,
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
Yes.
And we're now down to a motion to adopt or reject the resolution. There was a motion to adopt, and the motion was seconded. Missy, will you call the roll, please?
Kirsten? Ida?
Aye.
Jack?
Yes.
Brian?
Aye.
And Buddy is absent.
Okay. 4 votes in favor, the motion carries. We'll move on to item number 11. This is a public hearing to adopt resolution 2018-02 of the Board of Directors of the June-Quemac Fire Protection District for continued participation of annual special benefit tax for the construction of the new station. I will open the public hearing. Missy, do you verify publication was made of this hearing?
Yes.
Any staff report? Sir? Do we have any written comments from the public? Missy?
No.
Oral comments from the public? Anyone wish to speak to this item? This is an ordinance that authorizes us to collect the benefit fee for station construction. Any questions from the board, members of the board on this item? Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Ida moves. Kirsten seconds to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries. Is there a motion to adopt or reject the resolution?
I make a motion.
Okay. Ida moves to adopt the resolution. Is there a second to that motion? Kirsten seconds. Missy, will you call the roll, please?
Kirsten?
Yes.
Ida?
Aye.
Jack?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
And Buddy is absent.
That's 4 motions, 4 votes in favor, 0 opposed. The motion carries. We'll move on to number 12. Public hearing to adopt resolution number 2018-04 of the Board of Directors of the June-Quemac Fire Protection District implementing ordinance number 1, annual special benefit tax for structural fire protection service within the boundaries of the June-Quemac Fire Protection District. I will open the hearing, public hearing. Missy, do you verify the publication of the notice of this hearing?
Yes.
Rick, do you have a staff report on this item?
No.
The purpose of the hearing is to consider adopting a resolution that will enable the district to collect the $50 benefit fee for fire suppression. Structural fire protection service. Did I ask if we had any written comments?
I have received none.
Received none. Any oral comments from the public regarding this resolution? Seeing none, move on to speakers in favor or opposed. Anyone wishes to speak in favor or opposed to this resolution? Are there any questions from the board members? Is there a motion to close the hearing? Kirsten moves.
I'll second.
Ida seconds to close the public hearing. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? adopt the resolution. Is there a second to that motion? Kirsten seconds. Missy, will you call the roll, please?
Kirsten?
Yes.
Ida?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Brian?
Yay, aye.
Okay.
And Buddy is absent.
Buddy's absent. 4 in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Item number 13, public hearing to adopt resolution number 2018-03 of application by the Julian Quinnipiac Fire Protection District requesting the local agency formation commission to take proceedings to dissolve the Julian Quinnipiac Fire Protection District. This is a public hearing to consider that resolution. I will open the public hearing. Missy, do you verify that the notice of public hearing was published?
Yes.
In the local paper, general circulation?
Yes.
Purpose of hearing is to authorize filing the resolution with the local agency formation commission to commence proceedings to dissolve the district and annex the community service area 135.
Could you speak into the microphone when you say this?
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Better? Chief, do we have a staff report?
Why don't you restate the resolution so they can hear?
Okay, sure. Public hearing to adopt resolution number 2018-03 of application by the Julian Quinnipiac Fire Protection District requesting the local agency formation commission to take proceedings to dissolve the Julian Quinnipiac Fire Protection District. Okay, everybody hear that? If you have a copy of the agenda, it's also on page 3 of the agenda. If you don't have an agenda, there are copies here if you would like. Moving to written or oral comments from the public. Missy, do you have any written comments received?
I haven't received any.
Response to the notice of this hearing?
The statement that was just delivered.
Okay. Are there any oral comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Please go up here.
Please do.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody already knows my stance on this whole subject, and I'm not going to reiterate all the stuff. But one thing I'd like to ask y'all, okay, you have a school that needs help, desperately needs help. They're jumping through the hoops just trying to get the kids after school programs. We have no daycare for those people who do have children that have to work, okay? But then here we're going to try to get an assessment that's going to go $200, $300, $400 to whatever amount of money it's going to cost to operate an independent fire department. So, you're sitting there trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. And eventually we're just not going to have the school or anything because we're just not going to have the money for any of it. Thank you very much.
There are after-school programs.
Yeah, not enough. Okay, I won't say much. Thank you.
Let's not get into a debate in the audience, please. Any others wishing to speak to this item?
Okay, I don't think people understand that when we give away our power, we give away our power to determine the fees. That's the way it is. We can stand up and say whatever we want, but the truth is that what's happened in other areas is when you bring in more expensive services, eventually someone has to pay. I will give you an example. Palomar Mountain is getting a $1.5 million station remodel. That's your tax money, people. That is for 2 people on 1 engine, and they're getting a $1.5 million remodel. Where is the money coming from? It doesn't come out of nowhere, folks. That's just unrealistic. So we give them the power to decide without public input whatever they need to charge. It's not a matter of good versus evil. So my concern in this is we're just accepting it. We're just laying down. Did you all hear that Pine Valley negotiated? What does negotiate mean? They negotiated. They didn't just say yes. So this doesn't have to be the only solution. And what has pitted our community against each other is believing that this is the only solution, and it's not. It is absolutely not the only solution. Once we dissolve, we can never have this back. Our 6 to 7 million, or whatever estimate you want to give in resources, we can't get it back. It's not like we can make a different decision down the road. So while I stand generally on the side of JCFPD, I don't think it's any secret, and never has been a secret, that I think there's something in the middle. We have smart, intelligent people who should be able to figure out a solution where we work with the county, but we don't have to dissolve. Because once we dissolve, it's gone. Forever. Forever. It's never coming back. 34 plus years of work, volunteerism, all of that are gone, and it's not coming back. And I know we like to hear nice things like, oh, the volunteers can stay, but the truth is we know it doesn't work out that way, because an independent volunteer department has more flexibility in having their volunteers stay. So there is another option. It's been done in other areas. I've talked to other volunteer departments, and they've come together and worked together. This is not a work together solution. This is, we give everything up, and we take whatever we get, including potentially taxes and, well, not taxes. They're not taxes, they're fees. Fees down the road. And in other areas, that's what happened. This isn't about being anti-CAL FIRE or anti-county. This is about being pro-community and pro-intelligent negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, people. Why am I up here without a baby in a stroller? Well, I am very close to having a baby with special needs being placed in my home. And I think it's in the best interest that we look at what is best for our community and for the people who can't speak for themselves. And that is the people, I just don't think everyone realizes how quickly your life can go from wonderful to horrible. Now let me just give you an example, okay? Pretty wonderful, not so wonderful, okay? It happens that quickly. And I'm afraid that if we dissolve, it will be a very sad thing. Because we can't go back, and it would mean loss of lives. And that's really serious, people. I really ask that you think about giving us a chance to vote. It saddens me that we aren't even discussing a possible safety net. You know, okay, we're so quick to give them our assets and give up our control, but what if it doesn't work? Does anyone have is there a fallback? Have we negotiated something in writing? I mean, marriages, we get prenups, right? I did. We need something to that effect legally here, because I just don't understand why we would be so quick to give everything away without negotiating and without having a what if What if the worst thing could happen? What then? What do we do then? Well, we could have an exit contract, a clause. I just don't feel comfortable with Sacramento spending our money and resources. We're not going to have control over that money once it's given to them. And I really don't think we're getting much back. So please reconsider and let us vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sure.
Good morning, everyone. I hate speaking, public speaking, and I happen to like everybody on the board, so, and I like all of my neighbors and some of the people from CAL FIRE, but I like our chief, but my concern is, and I've addressed this before, I have copies of, on July the 6th, 2017, there was a radio call put out to Station 50 at CAL FIRE. They could not locate the Camp Marston. I have records for that, and I have transcripts. They could not locate Camp Marston. Camp Marston is where our children are. And because there was a dispute by Chief Mecham saying that that never occurred, he didn't look into it further. I did go further and found out who was on duty, which is hard for me because the last time I saw him was when he buried my horse, and that was about 6 years ago. And it was difficult to locate who was on duty at that time, and it happened to be Captain Southcott. Southcott gave me a notarized statement today that Engine 50 got lost, and the reason that, and then it was said that they were diverted to another call. Well, they didn't answer that call first for 2 minutes, then for 5 minutes. And they were lost for over 28 minutes trying to locate the scene of Camp Marston. And finally, the child nearly died. This is at Camp Marston. It's not hard. And they're having difficulty finding locations such as over by Hoskins Ranch. There is a gate with a chain on it, and there was a report of a fire. They asked one of the locals, is there an access road, could they get through? They didn't have bolt cutters. They didn't have a code for the gate. Until these things are put into place to protect us, we shouldn't vote until we know that our people are safe and they can find us. They turn left instead of turning right to go to Manzanita, and they go all the way around up Lakewood. There was also the Martin family, not once, but twice, where the mother almost died, and they couldn't locate it. There are 2 Pine Hills roads. One is over by the Girl Scout camp. Where the incident occurred was 4 doors up from the Girl Scout camp. If they can't find that residence, how safe are our kids? And if CAL FIRE can't find us, and I'm sorry, if that offends anyone, I'm talking about people's lives. If that offends somebody, lives trump feelings. And I don't care what everybody else has going on. I don't care. Go duke it out in a boxing ring, okay? Everybody, you're acting like. But when it comes to our kids and finding residents and finding the scene of an emergency, this is absolutely important. And I sent this to Chief Mecham, and he said, that never happened. I have a copy of his email right here saying it never happened. I'll give you a copy. And that is not true. It did happen. And I'm not a liar. And that really bothered me. So, also, Palomar Mountain, we were told by Chief Mecham that we would not be going to the Riverside Protocol. And we keep bringing this up, but the reason we bring it up is reduced costs for savings, reduced staff for savings, cost savings. We were told that we would not be going to the Riverside Protocol, which states that a 4-man protocol is the safest for fire crews and for the civilians. They need 2 in, 2 out to effectively rescue someone from a burning building.
and to safely extricate the person and initiate life support. And to initiate life support, you do need that 4-man crew. 3 are planned for Julian. And another place in San Diego County, that lovely remodel we were talking about for Palomar, they are going to have a 2-person staff, 1 medic and 1 fire crew for all of Palomar Mountain. And it was in the Ramona Sentinel. I have a copy of it right here for the board. It was stated that would not happen in San Diego County, and it is. That was you stated that, Chief Mecham. Then, also too, I do have a copy of I have the notarized statement from David Southcott stating that Engine 50 was hopelessly lost and a child nearly died. We're going to get BLS, possibly ALS, basic life support, not advanced life support. This child needed advanced life support immediately. Thank God for Station 56. It was Karen who went and saved this kid's life. And no one is saying anything about that. I don't know what's going on with feelings or emotions or anything like that, but before we vote, we need to fix this problem. And we're talking about GPS or new tracking or location systems. But we need to get that in place before there's any kind of transfer, because our town needs to be safe. And if this is about what's best for the community, keeping us alive is more important than a school or more important than anything else. And I love my neighbors, and I'm torn apart by what's happening. It's killing me. I just lost friends today. I'm in a group for terminally ill, and they're not talking to me. And this is just, and I'm not speaking out against CAL FIRE. I'm so sorry for anyone in CAL FIRE who's not involved with doing this. But the person who did this on the day with Engine 50, which is CAL FIRE, happened to have been here for 2 years. He should have known where Camp Marston is. This is unforgivable, unacceptable. And even with a 2% error rating, what does 2% mean? 2 of us out of 100 are gonna die? Okay, so here, the people who know where we are the people that we need to keep. And until we can fix this to where we know that the people know where we are, people are going to die. And that's not an exaggeration. They can't find us. We will die, especially for people like me, where I only have a certain amount of time. I've already accepted that's going to happen to me. But as far as other people, the children, we have camps up here. How can we send anyone to a camp up here when the kids are not safe? I mean, this was at Camp Marston. Our tourists can find it. Please reconsider, fix this before you vote to go with the county. I don't know what's going on with everybody else, but just fix this. Make sure everybody's safe. Even a GPS, they have GPS. They still couldn't find them. But fix this, please. I'm sorry, sir. But please fix this before you do anything. Don't put us in danger. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, the lady in the front.
Well, I live in Pine Hills, and evidently we're not doing a good enough job with our signage, so I will be bringing that up before our association to get better signage to Camp Marston. But we have pretty good signing around Pine Hills. We require it if you live in Pine Hills. Maybe some of these other communities need to get out and put decent signing at the corners of your roads and at the end of your driveways. You can even do it in lettering that glows in the dark. If you have that, I don't see where there's going to be so much trouble finding your place. And everyone can learn it. Chief just said we have a new system that will give directions. If you put up better signing, then they'll be able to find it. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
I wrote notes, but I don't have my glasses, so I'm going to try to see this.
This entire procedure, I'm sorry?
2.5 might help.
Oh, much better. This entire procedure has been a joke. It's been rife with Brown Act violations. You kept taking votes when Jack didn't like the results without following the proper procedures for reconsideration. I guess we're going to be forced to resolve this through lawsuits. This board should be dissolved, and the people of Julian should vote because this board is ineffective and does not follow the Brown Act.
We do follow the law.
No.
Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I just want to remind the board that I stand here and I represent 5 adults, not just me. Okay. We support our independent fire district, and this word dissolution, it's just getting rid of everything. And I don't think you 3 people should make that decision for the community of Julian. It's too important. And thank you. I don't know how your procedure works, but I believe someone should bring up some sort of motion so that this can go to our general election in November. There's no reason this has to rush through today with 3 people, 1 missing. Consider how important this is, please, and don't vote to dissolve today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone who hasn't spoken? Anyone else who hasn't spoken? No, you've already had your shot. Thank you. I don't see any other hands up, so we will move forward. Sure.
I'll pass it out.
All right. I think at least 2 of the board members and probably 3 and maybe 4 would like to speak to this issue before we ask for a motion. We've been sitting up here for months and months and months. We've listened to you for hours. We haven't gotten into any debates. We have refrained from responding to some very, very vicious challenges to us. We've let you have your chance to speak, and all those who were here last month and the month before and the month before that who aren't here today. I'm going to ask each board member if they'd like to make a comment before we take any action. So, Ida, you're first.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I promised the people that are supportive of me and that I would at least explain where I've come from. As most of you know, I have been a board member for 14 years. I have been supportive of the volunteers all along, and I remain supportive of the volunteers. I've spent countless hours of my own time fundraising, t-shirt selling, as one of the founding members of the Save Our Volunteers. I voted many years ago to allow our district to enter into contracts with the County Fire Authority to supplement our equipment and finances. This is when Kevin Dubler was our chief. This contract got us through many tough financial years, and with our auto aid agreement made by Chief Dubler with CAL FIRE and a dedicated paramedic engine at CAL FIRE, I was confident that we were providing the best service possible to keep this community safe. Several years ago, I voted to deny the San Diego Fire Authority's offer to take our district over. At that time, our fiscal situation was not great,
but it was okay because the county decided to allow us to keep the $30,000 per station that they had been giving us. With our CPA, Rebecca Laura's stamp of approval, we recognized that we were solvent for at least another year, and I voted to hang on. In 2015, the county was again asking us to join the fire authority. The county offered us a paramedic fire engine to cover our community for 2 years with the understanding that we would then go into negotiations. With the promise of a new benefit fee for an added $100 per year on the ballot, and with the energy from the new reserve program and a new fire station, I promoted the benefit fee and was happy to let the community decide the fate of the volunteers. The ballot measure did not pass. In 2017, the county approached us again with the news that they would no longer provide support beyond our small tax base. The county was withdrawing the paramedic fire engine they had stationed at CAL FIRE and all other financial aid that they were providing us. At that time, there was an effort to put another benefit fee on the ballot for June of 2018. This time for a $200 increase, and this group was confident that the benefit fee would pass. I was again hopeful that this would be successful. We were notified that CAL FIRE would be closing its local stations and JCFPD would be fully responsible for all medical aids and fire incidents in the community for the first time since we asked for auto aid with CAL FIRE over a dozen years ago. I was nervous, but with the promise of the benefit fee, I voted to remain independent anyways. We needed around 260 signatures, and with only 199 ballot signatures, we couldn't even get a ballot measure together. Again, the community had spoken. Now there's a third petition. The same group believes the community will support a $200 benefit fee even though they didn't support the $100 benefit fee. Our finances are in a dire situation. Because I knew this and asked to see what the county has to offer, I have been called traitor and a lot of other names, Judas for one. I have been threatened via email with a lawsuit to sue me personally and take my home. I've been attacked by a small handful of people, but I have also been approached by hundreds of community members via Facebook, text, and in person who believe I will do what's best for our community. I believe I am doing what is the best interest of the community of Julian with the resources available to us and what the majority of people want. I have listened to both sides of the same argument in detail for over a decade. My loyalty is to our community and what provides safety and security to our neighbors, and so is my vote.
Thank you, Ida.
I feel like much of what Ida said is exactly how I would have written this. I have written my statement because I felt I owed it to you. I don't know, dozens of times. And every time it was filled with emotion. It was filled with what would maybe be perceived as throwing people under the bus. This town is divided into basically three parts. We have those who are for the county, those who are for independent, and then there's those who are saying, you know what, you're the board, you were voted in, you've been given this responsibility, do your job. And we know that you'll use the wisdom to do this. We've been privy to a lot of information because we sit here month after month and hear everything that's being said. I, for one, have been told I don't have the right to wear anything with the Julian Cuyamaca Fire Department on it because I am not one of them. I have gone through the academy. I have removed dead bodies from cars. I have put wet stuff on the red stuff. I have pulled my share of hose. And I'm doing this all being 50 and older. I love my fire department. I want people to know that if the county takes us over, I lose this county, this fire department too. I lose the patch that I have worn proudly on my uniform.
I lose many friends. And then you have to ask yourself, were they truly friends? Yes, I think they truly are. I think the heart of this town is deeper than anyone will ever understand that doesn't live here. I have talked to generations of people who live here. I've talked to firefighters, people who've gone through the Explorer program. I have not just listened to those who have sat here in these seats month after month pleading to keep us independent. There are many, many hundreds of other voices out there. Buddy mentioned that he had over 400 people speak to him. I do not know how many people I have spoken to who have spoken to me, but like in Ida's case, I have been threatened. I have been told I do not belong to live in this community if I vote to go. And some of you, I have been a friend to. I have helped out. People who have spoke here and have made threats against me, I put gas in their tank, their car, because they broke down on the side of the road. I have people who have spoken out against me or against the values, saying that I have not listened, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or there are just so many different things that have been said. I wish you would understand the pressure that's been put upon us. But all that being said, I did write a little statement. First off, my vote to stay independent was a vote ruled by my emotion, because I do love this station. I do love this town. I do love the volunteers, the reserves. I look solely at how our community had worked together to build not just this station, but the old 56, and how we have worked so hard to build this fire department. I took pride in it, and I still will. I still do. The time between these two votes, however, gave me a chance to clearly see and hear both sides, be shown facts, discover and find legalities, and recognize truths, all of which cannot be ignored. Having stepped away from my emotions, which, trust me, is the battle. But I've had to step away from my emotions in this decision, and I've had to make a decision that is my fiduciary duty in this vote. And I hope and pray that you will understand and that we can be neighbors. I don't plan on moving. I still have kids in this community, and I have hope that we can heal from all this.
Thank you. I don't have prepared remarks, but I do wish to address some of the issues that have been raised over the last 4 or 5 months. 4 years ago, we had a vote whether to remain independent or not, and that was the motion. The motion wasn't to join the county, it was to remain independent. That motion passed 4-1. I was the one vote opposed, because I felt at the time that we hadn't completed our due diligence to be able to know sufficiently about the issues to take a vote. So I voted no. That wasn't a vote to join the county. It was a vote to do our due diligence and then decide. But that's not the way it was construed by most of you. In any event, I wanted to get that off my chest, that so people knew why I voted the way I did 4 years ago. Fast forward 4 years, we've been doing an awful lot of the due diligence to learn what the issues are, what the alternatives are, and we have come to a point now where I'm confirmed in my opinion that dissolving the district, consolidating with the County Fire Authority, with service provided by CAL FIRE. We're not consolidating with CAL FIRE. we're consolidating with the county. The county happens to contract with CAL FIRE to provide the people and the equipment to serve the communities that they serve in the backcountry. I believe that this will, with all due respect to all volunteers, and people have been telling me, well, you just want to get rid of the volunteers. Dave Southcott said that at one point publicly. Jack wants to get rid of the volunteers. That's not true. We've asked the CAL FIRE folks if the volunteers can remain in the community and serve the community, and they've assured us that they can. Now, it's going to be up to the volunteers' decision whether they want to or not, but that doesn't mean that they're being dissolved or driven out of the community. They'll have the opportunity to serve the community if they choose to. If they choose to. The issue was made about losing control to the county of our fire service. I point out that we don't have a lot of control over our county library. We don't have a lot of control over how the sheriff's service is provided in this community. We don't have a lot of control how our road maintenance is provided in our community. We do have some input into community zoning and planning through the planning, community planning group. However, I chaired that group for 15 years and was reminded from time to time by the county that you're just an advisory group. We'll take your advice when it's appropriate and when we can. We found that there were times when the planning group took a position on a development issue in the community. The county planning department told us that what you want us to do is contrary to the county ordinances and state laws, and so we're not going to take your advice. We've been told that there is, not 4 years ago, we were told there would be an advisory committee, and there is an advisory committee. Ben Tulloch mentioned it when he was at our meeting recently, that he chairs that. He's former chair of the Pine Valley Fire District and Fire Board, and he now chairs that countywide advisory committee that reports to the Board of Supervisors. It's there to hear from anyone who has issues with fire service in their community. It's a group they can go to. They don't have to go. Ben mentioned the other day, you don't have to go to the Board of Supervisors. You can go to that advisor group and they will hear your concerns and see what they can do for you. So that would give us a voice in the countywide fire system, unincorporated area fire system, similar to what the community has right now in the planning group. My experience over 15 years on the planning board was that more often than not, the county made changes to development plans based on our recommendations. Most of the time, they listened to us and said, okay, if that's what you want, Julian, we'll change the issue in your favor. There were times when they said, no, we can't. And I suspect that if we have representation in the future, if this goes forward, if we have representation on that advisory committee, whoever it is that's on that representing Julian, the community will know who they are and know that they can go to them and express their concerns. I advocated 2 or 3 years ago that we take a poll of the community, educate them as well as we could on the pros and cons, but that proposal fell flat on the floor. This board didn't want to take a poll. But I'll tell you that nearly everyone that I talked to about the issue Guy walking his dog in Pine Hills yesterday stopped at my house, asked how things are going, and he had been at one of our meetings. He apologized to me for the community, the way we were treated. But he wanted to know if we were going to, he said, I understand you voted to go with the county. And I said, no, we voted to negotiate with them. He was at that board meeting. I've talked to a number of people who own homes in Pine Hills that live elsewhere. They say, well, I can't vote, but are you going to give us better fire protection, better medical service? And my answer is, time will tell. But there are an awful lot of people who I've talked to who support consolidating with the county. And for, among other things, those who understand the ISO rating system, we're in an era now of a history of a lot of fires in California, wildfires. That's not our responsibility. That's CAL FIRE's responsibility. But the fact of the matter is, insurance companies are looking closely at insuring homeowners in fire-prone areas, as we are. And I think it's going to become more and more difficult to obtain fire insurance in this community without full-time fire service. We've been assured by CAL FIRE, because of history of what's happened in other communities in the unincorporated area, that they will do their very best through the ISO process to obtain an ISO rating of 3 and 3X for us. Right now it's 5 and 8. If it gets to 10, you can't get insurance. When I moved up here, my insurance agent said, well, you're an 8, and I think I can get you a policy, but if you were 9 or 10, my company wouldn't insure you. And I think that's going to become more and more present in the future. If they can get us to a 3 and a 3X, the chief who was here at our last meeting from Idlewild said he's a 2. His district is a 2. He's got a nearly $2 million budget compared to our $378,000 budget. And after the meeting, asked Toni Mecham how difficult it'd be to get a 2. I've been around that system for a long time, and I've known cities that were 2s, and they had to spend a lot of money to get down there. You don't get there with a 10-year-old fire engine. You don't get there unless you have staffed fire engines. But if they can get us to a 3, that means people moving into the community will have a better chance of getting insurance, and those of us who are already here have a lesser chance of being canceled. And they do cancel people, don't they, Michael? How many times have you been canceled?
3.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing that I want to mention is the financial responsibility, the fiscal fiduciary responsibility that this board has. We're facing, depending on who you talk to, the chief, me, Rebecca Lures, who are familiar with our budget, we're facing, without something dramatic happening on the income side or the expenditure side, about a $90,000 deficit in our budget next year. That's $90,000 out of $378,000. That's a pretty significant amount of revenue to try to catch up. We can do fundraisers. That's been suggested. We'll do spaghetti dinners and we'll do all sorts of things. And they raise $1,000 to $1,500 each time. That means we only need about 60 of those next year to raise the $90,000. Maybe 70. How many is that each week? That's an unrealistic goal. We can apply for grants as if we don't already. We apply for grants wherever we can find them. And someone wrote a letter to the editor of the paper just recently saying that they've been in the grant writing business, and the prospects of finding a grant that'll pay for your operating expenses is slim to nil. You can get grants to buy equipment and grants to do projects, but trying to fill our budget gap from grants is unrealistic. Making up that budget deficit still doesn't give us a staffed fire engine in the firehouse. In any event, those are all the reasons why I've listened very carefully to all of you, all these meetings for the last many, many months. I've tried to keep an open mind. Granted that I had already leaned in favor of the consolidating with the county early on. I was willing to be persuaded otherwise, but nothing has changed to change that. So that's why I support filing with LAFCO. That doesn't automatically mean that the county will take over next month or the month after that. It means we enter a process that will take, I've heard different numbers, 6 months, a year, year and a half. Ben Tulloch told us how it took them, 3 years, was it, Tony? Something like that, because they had one issue with regard to the reconstruction of the station. We've been assured that if we go in that direction, the county will pay off the loan on this station. Initially, they said they wouldn't eliminate the benefit fee, but we negotiated, which is what it was about, and they agreed that they would pay off the station loan, and it's about $1.5 million now, and then they would sunset the benefit fee. That means it goes away. It's only $50, and if you've got a $6,000 tax bill, $50 isn't significant. But there are a lot of people in Julian that have much, much lower tax bills to where getting $50 taken off of it is helpful to their financial situation. It's a process that will take, as I say, 6 months to a year and a half. Somewhere during that process, there will be a public hearing held by LAFCO. And if there are sufficient negative comments or statements, they may call for a vote. In the case of Pine Valley, there weren't that many negative comments, so they didn't call for a vote. But they will call for a community vote. That vote is made by property owners, not registered voters. Property owners are the people who have a stake in the outcome. They have a dog in the fight. In any event, I wanted to talk to you about all of those issues that have been running through my head and my mind for 4 years now, and why I support consolidating with the county. I believe in local control. I served as a city manager for 30 years and had many occasions to augur for local control versus regional control. But I believe that there are times when local control isn't necessarily best for the people being served. Having the amount of resources available from the sheriff. I worked for 2 cities that contracted with the sheriff for law enforcement. We had people saying, why don't we have our own police department? Our own, that we have control over right here in this community. And my answer was, if the bank's being robbed, it doesn't matter who's in control. We want cops there. And we want as many as are necessary, which the sheriff's department can provide. And I liken that a bit to what we're talking about here. If we have a fire, we want as much service as we can get, not just what we have available. In any event, those are my comments about why I will vote to start the process to consolidate with the county fire department. And again, I say start the process. We have negotiated with them over the service that would be provided. There wasn't a whole lot to negotiate about because they offered us pretty much what we knew they were going to offer, that we were going to ask for. The one item about sunsetting the benefit fee was one where we had a disagreement, and they agreed to talk to their superiors and who agreed to sunset the benefit fee. It's my understanding that even if we submit to the resolution to LAFCO, we still have time to fine-tune the negotiations with regard to the service. One of the things that LAFCO does, it was described to me at one time by, I think, one of the CAL FIRE guys, that the LAFCO process is sort of like escrow. You get together and talk about price, conditions of the sale, whatever, if you're selling a house or buying a house. Then you go into escrow, and that's the independent agency that handles all of your issues between the buyer and the seller. Well, that's what LAFCO is doing. LAFCO has a responsibility to ensure that the community is adequately served by the agency that's going to take over, whether it's another district or a city. They're responsible to make sure that that the entity giving up its authority to another entity is being adequately served. They then, after they make their decision, they may not allow it to happen. They can deny it. They're a state agency, but they make the final decision. We don't, LAFCO does, or the county doesn't, and CAL FIRE doesn't. Actually, it's the county that is the other entity. CAL FIRE is just their contractor. But when they complete the process and have held all their public hearings, they have experts on their staff who are experts in fire, police, all other services that are being considered. They hear from their staff experts and determine from their independent staff that it's going to be done in the best interest of the community that is being served. Once they reach agreement, if LAFCO agrees that the consolidation should take place, they memorialize it in a document that is recorded and is kept by LAFCO. And to sort of address what happens, some of the people said, well, what happens later? Can't we undo it? Well, you can't necessarily undo it, but it's a possibility, not likely. But at least if they tell us they're going to put a paramedic staffed engine in this community, whether it's in this building or CAL FIRE's building where the last one was, that's in the document that approves the consolidation. That's always there. If 6 months, a year, 2 years later, the county decides, well, we don't really need to have a paramedic staffed engine in Julian, any citizen in Julian who hears about that can go to LAFCO, file a complaint, and LAFCO will send somebody over to the County Board of Supervisors and say, okay, here it is, right here. It says you're going to do this. That's the assurance we have that what is said will be done, will be done. I'm a realist. I've been around the barn a time or two in local government, and I understand that things can happen that aren't anticipated. But, I'm also a realist to know that I'm not sure the sun's going to come up tomorrow either. I sure believe it is, but there's always that possibility that it won't, or that the community will no longer support what they've agreed to support. I've talked too long, and I'm sorry, but I wanted to get those comments off.
Gotta wake up. Okay. I don't have a prepared statement either, but I just want to answer some of this stuff. We do have a full-time fire department here. We got people here 24/7, 7 days a week. Since the county left, we've responded to every single call on time and covered everything, all the medical, everything. And our reserve corps is growing. We've got more guys coming back. We've got people who want to leave San Diego County Fire Authority to come work for us because they see better opportunities here, better training. We've got guys that are coming out of our department that are actually going to LA County Fire, which is one of the harder departments to get into. You got to have good qualifications, you got to have good training, you got to be smart and active in it. We got guys that are going from here to there. That's awesome. So we're fully covered here. We can do it. I believe if we stayed independent with, and we get the benefit fee, even without the benefit fee, look what we've done with $50. You know, over 34 years that we built this department. And with proper leadership, if we didn't get the benefit fee, we can still make it. But with proper leadership and guidance and the benefit fee, we can thrive and we can be the #1 department in San Diego County. It boggles my mind, too, that the people who started this department, they worked over 2 years to go through the LAFCO process to create an independent fire district. 2 years. The whole community was involved in that. And now we're going to just give it away. As far as negotiations with the county, when I saw the contract that they brought forth, it looked like a boilerplate contract that was picked up off the ground. Go, here, just use this. I didn't see any negotiation in there. I mean, why are we letting them have our building and everything? Why aren't they paying for all the capital improvements? Why aren't they paying fair market value for this building, property, and all our assets? And then whatever's left over, give it to the community. Give it to the school. School needs money, let's give it to the school. We can pass it on. We should not be giving it away for free. ISO, we'd never get it anywhere. The ISO, one of the major parts of it is how close you are to the fire department and water. How much water can you sustain for a time period of 2 hours? None of our districts can do what they need to do. There's 2 of them, I think, that they say that can do it out of, I think, the 13 water districts in our area that could actually sustain the water flow needed to raise the ISO. So that doesn't play into it, but also we're at a wildland environment now, so the insurance companies are looking more towards where you live, not your ISOs. And so I want to, Jack said he wanted to do a poll of the citizens before to educate, spend time educating them, do a poll and see what they think. Well, I think that's what we should do right now, except it should be a vote of the public. We should educate the public and put it to a vote. We should not be doing this. Okay, so I'll make a motion to put this to a vote of the public. Postpone it, put it to a vote of the public.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Is there? You can talk to me after the meeting. All right. Is there another motion? Let's see. Have we closed the public hearing?
No, you haven't.
We have. We're still in the public hearing.
Yep.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the public hearing? You've all had an opportunity to speak. Some of you did. Okay.
You're supposedly going to be negotiating?
We have negotiated.
Okay, so you're done? There's no more?
Not necessarily.
Okay, can you negotiate that they do not increase any fire fees, that the county does not increase?
We've talked about that with them, yes. They can't guarantee that. Yep. That's up to the Board of Supervisors, and Mr. Reddick, who is the director of the County Fire Authority, cannot predict and cannot assure what the Board of Supervisors will do. He doesn't have that authority.
Board of
I
Supervisors.
don't think there is anyone who has the authority to guarantee what a future Board of Supervisors will do. And the current Board of Supervisors cannot, by law, they cannot bind a future Board of Supervisors. They can say, oh, they'll never do that, but they can't guarantee it because it's not, the law won't allow them to do that.
So
Okay.
this could just go on increasing exponentially forever.
They could put a benefit fee in place that is not voted on by the public.
They are currently not inclined to go to the public to see if they'll vote on a benefit fee. And it has to be voted on by the
No, it doesn't.
registered voters within CSA 135.
No, they can assess a benefit fee without a vote. That's how they did the fire mitigation fee. It was voted on without a vote of the public.
The county did?
No, that was the state, but the county.
The county did?
The county has the same authority. They can put a benefit fee in place.
All right. Then we can put a benefit fee in place without a vote.
No, we don't have that authority.
The county doesn't either.
Yes, they do.
No.
I beg to differ. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You differ. We disagree. Let's agree to disagree.
Right. You got the mic.
Okay.
I would
all right,
also like to.
We're going to put close the hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Item moves to close the public hearing. Kirsten seconds the motion to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All no.
Abstain.
No. Any voting no to close the public hearing? Any abstention?
I abstain.
Okay. 3 votes to close the hearing, 1 abstention, 1 absent. We'll move ahead on the agenda. Is there anything anyone wants to do with the resolution for which the public hearing was being held?
I'd like to make a motion to reopen negotiations with the county to see if we can get better terms. Buddy and I were not included in the negotiations. We didn't see anything about them until the contract was handed to us.
That's
So-
true. That's true of Kirsten also. Only 2 of us could meet with them. You wanted the whole board to meet with them, Brian, as I recall. Which would have been a Brown
I'm making
Act
a motion.
violation. Yes.
That's not on the agenda for today.
What's not on the agenda?
Motion to go back or talk with the county again.
I'm making the motion.
I'm just.
It's an emergency motion.
This is okay.
Item 13 on our agenda.
Okay. That's true. We've just closed the hearing to consider resolution number 2018-03. We've closed the hearing. Now the floor is open for a motion to adopt the resolution, to not adopt the resolution.
I make the motion to adopt the resolution for 2018-03, application for us to take proceedings to dissolve the Mecham Fire Protection District.
All right. I'll second the motion. Any further discussion on the motion to adopt the resolution? Kirsten? Brian? Any further discussion? All those in favor, Bessie? would
Roll
you take-
call. Let's
call
do
the
a roll
roll?
call, yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Kirsten Starlin,
Yes.
Aida Tucker,
Yes.
Jack Shelver,
Yes.
Brian Kramer,
Absolutely no.
and Buddy Seifert is
Buddy
absent.
is absent. And it's not possible to vote by proxy. That's against the rules. So. But Buddy knew what was coming up, and he was aware that we were considering this item. Motion carries. We'll move on the agenda. We have several more items of business
I'm going to use the restroom.
to take care of. Let's take a 5-minute break, a stretch break. Since Brian's stepping out.
Can I have a moment of personal privilege?
Absolutely.
This is to be very quick. Okay.
Jack, when we're all done with the meeting, I need you to sign. I got the blue. There's 4 of them.
If I sign it, we check in with you.
You bet. All
Get it
right?
all down.
Once I sign the resolution, is it ready to go?
Yes.
Or do you have to put anything else?
As far as I know, we're ready. You,
You've written the vote in.
yep. You, Rick, me, except for, we'll ask Toni Mecham. There's this, but this is a draft, so I don't think we're supposed to sign this. It's not. The attachment C is part of the.
Yeah.
See, it's a draft.
It was
that
a
the
draft.
County
Now-
sent. Yeah, it's not.
Now it's approved. It's part of the resolution.
Okay. So we might need signatures here. I'll ask Tony.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll ask Tony. We can sign that after anyway, when the meeting's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get
We
clear.
can sign it all today.
No, today, right after the meeting's done. Signature, signature, signature. Yes.
If you've got a copy,
Even in the past couple of weeks,
you might want to make a copy of the signature page
Karen
for
gave
our
Oh, I will. Yeah. I'll make a copy.
before we send it out.
Okay.
She told me to hang around.
Yeah, because we don't know. We've never done this.
several that were robbed, not because they were here, or because they had substituted.
All right. I'm going to go use the restroom. Yes.
I'm going to send her the ones I have.
They're opposed to the district. They want to keep the district, but they hate it. But it's not just him. Judge John Hayes. It's Trump people. It's Trump people. He's staying back in the background. Like the thing with the Oh, pleased to meet you. Yeah. Give him my best when you see him. Hope to meet him one day.
You will. Both of us have kind of stayed away from all this. You know, but I was, you're handling it really fast. All of you are. It's a very difficult situation to put in. We feel for you. It's not fair. It's not something try to do it. There is a very big side from their side. Yeah. We don't want to be involved in that. But I had to come today to hear what you guys were.
This guy I talked to yesterday, I've known him since he was I've had people come by. I'm out working in they'll stop. How's the fire company? And some of them, a number of them don't live here.
Yeah.
So they're only here when they come to school. Like to have the fire chief. I think that's
I work, is the one that got me to start the Winola Santa Ysabel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been involved in this.
So have you got your job picked out yet?
No, I have to take tests. I have tests to pass, just like anybody else.
Just asking.
For fire mitigation in my community. And the grants are drawing out.
So what's next?
Hey Brian, are we running out of money? Is that what the whole problem is?
Somewhat, yes, but it's the way they're spending it. They're spending money like on this Rescue 57 repair. This rescue's been out of service for 10 months without being fixed. Now all of a sudden they're fixing it. This one, the guy tore apart the engine and he didn't have to. I mean, this is going to cost us big because it broke the warranty on the engine. You know, it's yeah. So they're just trying to spend us into the solve it, make trouble for us.
Yeah, well,
I'm kind of new to the area.
it's my
He's
wife.
been here a long time. I'm new, and I'm listening to both sides, and I'm wondering, I don't know much about it, but I feel for the people that have been here all this time, and they want to keep, volunteers.
Well, they've been, it's like him saying that there's no 24-hour coverage. We have 24-hour coverage, 7 days a week, 24 hours.
We do now.
Right, right. Yeah, we have almost.
Yeah, it's great. That's great.
And that can even improve if we had stipends to pay the reserves. That's what, I mean, I've put forth think it was September of last year, that we run our own paramedic engine. I went
Are
to
you the chief?
No, I would. It would be a lot different. But no, I put forth to the board that we run a paramedic engine, because the county said they were going to take it away. So I said, why don't we do it? And they stopped it. They said, we can't do it. And I said, I talked to county EMS, and they said, yeah, we can do it. Once we start it, we can do it. And we can do it with volunteers. We don't have to have a paid staff. And our reserve corps, I think it's up to 56 now. And out of that 56, every one of them's an EMT. And then about a third of them are paramedics. Because they work down the hill.
Calm down.
They work down the hill in the city as paramedics on the ambulance crews down there. But they don't get fire experience, so they want to come up here and work with us, get fire experience with their ambulance.
Oh, yeah.
Then they get to go to LA County and get
I saw
$120,000
he walked back in, there he was.
How much a year? They can get up to 120 or more.
I know, my husband had spinal surgery.
hours of open heart surgery.
They would don't try to
It's because of the benefits.
I know, neither does my
They've
husband.
been taking over everybody in the backcountry.
My husband had spinal surgery 2 years ago.
So that's why they're pressuring us.
And he's in
See,
pain
once
all the time.
That's why they haven't
and
raised
he's
any
not
fees anywhere else in the county.
energy and doesn't,
Because if they raised a fee anywhere in the county,
I'm concerned
which
about
they
it
can,
all, but
then we would see that and we'd say, no, we're going to stay
He's
independent.
on that.
Because look what we did with
Yeah.
$50. Imagine what we could do with $200.
Yeah.
Like Riverside
I
County,
know, my
which went
husband's the
through
same
our model
way.
we're going through right now, where they
All right,
absorbed everybody.
go
Then
look
they
out
went
back, Tony.
And put a benefit fee in of, I think it's $350 to $500. That people have to pay, and that's not enough for them. Now they're talking about charging $390 per hour per call.
Right. But everybody feels that the government's going to solve everything, and it doesn't. And it never does.
Better stewards of
That's
money.
right. That's right. Why can't we get? I've been here 32 years, and I pay taxes. Why can't we get more money from the people that are living here?
Well, we can do that through the benefit fee, but we're locked in because of the the tax cap. We can only get 1% of the tax fee. But we can raise benefit fee like we're doing through the initiative, raise it to $200. And that will be enough to get us going and keep us viable. Because once we're out of this mess here, and we get a good chief in, good leadership, who wants to make this department go forward.
Now that they voted to start dissolving us, are we going to bring litigation against them?
Yeah, that was, they filed a lawsuit.
Why can't we vote on the dam
right
in November? Why can't we do it?
That's what, Ben Tellum brought that up, or Tulloch, when he talked the other day at the evening meeting. He said that when Pine Valley went through it, they negotiated. He was talking about all these great negotiations they did and got all kinds of stuff. And then he said at the end that the firefighters brought forth a lawsuit that forced it to go to a vote of the public. What he didn't say about that lawsuit is that lawsuit was 10 years ago. So they postponed the vote for 10 years. So that's what we're trying to do. We got a lawyer looking at that lawsuit right now, and he's working on it right now.
Good. Okay, well, good. We appreciate you.
Yeah, what's your name again?
Bob Doan.
Oh, Bob Doan. Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, thank you
Hi,
very much.
Barbara, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I do it, but I'm
Well, we hope you get
the lone voice in the wilderness.
Watch your feet.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a damn good job.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
To stand firm, to go and let us intentional fortitude. We appreciate it. As I think it's
We're going to get started again. Can you take your seats?
Okay.
Okay, thank you for coming back to order. We have 4 more items on the agenda to cover. Item 14, Rescue 57 repair decision. This from Chief Marinelli.
Okay, in the back of your board packet, there's an estimate for our second rescue. It's the one that's in the UGP large Napa station. It's been broke for quite a while, and it got taken over to MDS Diesel in Ramona, and they're giving us a quote of $11,385.96 to repair it. And it basically needs a new top end. I talked to her, so that's to get the big service book in. I talked to our new fleet mechanic yesterday, and I was mentioning the price to him, and I had him look over the estimate. He thinks a few of the things in there are excessive, but generally it is what it is. But he did also think it would be a good idea to get a quote from Ford to put a new engine in it. The vehicle is a 2005 Ford F550. It's got 36,241 miles. If you look at it, it looks just like our other rescue. Same type of equipment. So it's low miles, but he advised me to call Ford and put a new in to see what it would cost to put a new engine in it. So I did, and I didn't get the quote in writing because the guy there just couldn't figure out how to do it. But anyway, his quote is $18,139 for a brand new engine, and that's not a rebuild. That's not a partial short block. That's a full brand new engine, new turbo, new EGR, new exhaust manifold with a 2-year unlimited warranty on the engine.
Install too?
Installed.
How much was that?
$18,139 as opposed to $11,000 to rebuild the engine. That's in there now. So what I'm looking from the board on direction is, do we want to invest in that thing and fix it? Do we want to do basically a top-end rebuild, put a new engine in it? What's your pleasure? My input as chief is those rescues are very valuable pieces of equipment, especially since most of our reserves can't drive our fire trucks. It gets people to this, and a lot of our volunteers can't. It gets people to the scene at least faster because they can drive those without any special licensing, and it's pretty easy to get them trained up on it. So my advice is to repair it. And keep it in service. Pardon? No, but it's a budget decision. It's really coming down to a fiscal thing. You know, it's one of those deals where, do we want to invest in that piece of equipment or not? Do we use it? Absolutely will use it if it's right now when the rescue we have breaks down, we use that old truck as a rescue. We put equipment over, and that truck's 30 years old or something like that. It's been around a long time. So it's a good primary and or backup rescue. It's one of those 6.0 Fords that everybody hears about, and the new engines have been corrected. So if we put a new engine in it, it won't have that problem. But they did advise me, and our past mechanic told me the same thing. There's a flushing sequence that has to happen on those vehicles, and if that doesn't happen, the same thing will happen again. And that's why the first one was damaged. So we have to make sure, it's a training thing to make sure our folks get that maintenance done on it. So there it is. That's.
And then they'll fix that if they rebuild the engine, or it's no. What I'm saying is, right. So what I'm saying is, would they be able to fix that problem of the flushing if they rebuild it?
Well, the flushing is a maintenance thing.
Oh, it's a maintenance. Okay.
Is it the same on the new engine?
What's that?
The new engine doesn't have that problem.
No, I've been told that all those bugs on the new replacements have been worked out.
Okay.
Seems like a class action lawsuit. But
it's a substantial amount of money, especially right now when we're facing a.
I've got a question. Why are we bringing this forward now when that went out of service on June 6, 2017? Why wasn't it addressed then if it's so valuable?
Because our mechanic has been trying to fix it.
For that long? He couldn't figure it out?
He's trying to fix it cheaper. He's here if you want to ask him.
Well, I'm just asking. And he couldn't figure it out?
If you want to ask him.
Okay. I understand. I'm asking the question.
I'm trying to answer you.
He wants the board to make the decision.
I understand, but I'm just asking why it took this long. Why on June 6th it went out of service? We thought it would be down and back. Why did it take almost 10 months to come to, I took my truck in yesterday. I just got a call telling me all the problems that are with it, you know, and what it's going to cost, and I'm going to have it done in a few days. And mine's major stuff being done. So why wait 10 months? It just...
If you guys don't want to put the money into...
I'm not saying about taking the money. I'm just... It's a procedure thing. Why it took so long, I question.
You're asking me a question that I don't have an answer for. I'm not understanding. Okay. I don't even get the point of your question. But
You don't get the point that we have a major asset that you say is very valuable to us to get our people to the fire or to the emergency, and we can't figure out in 10 months how to fix it?
You want to make a motion?
I'm asking that we're discussing.
Okay.
May I discuss it?
Sure.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do, is discuss it. And I'm trying to find answers.
We have a...
So this doesn't happen again.
Okay.
Was our mechanic working on the other engines at the time?
No.
want to address it, Chris? He's here.
So what exactly is your question?
Why it took 10 months to figure out that, to fix this thing? To figure it out, for one.
It didn't take that long to figure it out.
Then why is it
My
out of service on June 6, 2017, and now it just goes to a new mechanic because you couldn't fix it?
had nothing to do with my ability to fix it.
Why didn't you fix it?
I am one mechanic. I take care of everybody's frontline equipment. If that one was so important, why did that problem go on for 3 months before it was even brought to me?
You're the mechanic. You're supposed to be up here servicing these things. I don't know. I don't know.
You know, it's real hard to fix stuff when it doesn't get reported. So,
But once you had it, I just don't understand how it took 10 months. You're that busy? Great. You don't need our service. You don't need our equipment.
That's why we don't
I'm fine with losing him. I don't think he's a very good mechanic.
The issue before us today is there are two choices for fixing that rescue. Do we want to put a new engine in it, or do we want to save $7,000 and rebuild the existing engine? That's what's before us. We're not here to... Your point is you want the 10 months changed.
No, I just wanted an answer so it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
If these things are so important, it should not take that long.
Nope.
If he was that busy, we should have taken it to somebody else.
In the past, we've assigned vehicle maintenance issues to Battalion Chief Van Bibber, and he chose not to report it.
Can we ask him? Can we ask him?
Sure.
Chief, did you have anything to report on Rescue 56? They're saying that you were in charge of it, and it took this long because of yours.
January 1st, the responsibilities of the department were divided between myself and Battalion Chief Stowers. Fleet was one of my responsibilities. It was never clearly defined what I was supposed to do, so at that point I contacted Chris just to kind of see where we're at and what was going on. I knew that rescue was out for a while. The response to that was waiting on parts. So, I wasn't pressuring anybody, just asking questions. So that's my involvement in it. I found out later that I wasn't responsible for fleet. I'm just supposed to coordinate with this. So
Okay.
I'm still a little gray on what my responsibilities are.
Okay.
But that was the one time I contacted Chris, said parts we're waiting on parts. Second time he said that he no longer talks to me, he talks to the chief. So I hadn't had anything to do with
Okay.
this.
Okay.
Thank you.
I believe you all received a letter I wrote in response to the, no, this was a little bit ago, about fleet problems not getting reported to me. Yep. So that covers a lot of that. And the repair I was going to make there, I was trying to save you guys money. And the part required to do it, there was special built for each engine. Nobody has them on the shelf. I got them and tore
sorry that it's been severed.
As am I. I had a great time taking care of all your equipment. Thank you.
You did a great
Yeah.
job, Chris.
Staying on task, there's actually three choices. Do the top end rebuild for 11 and change, put a new engine in it for 18 and change, or scrap it. Part it out and scrap it. Those are the three choices.
What would our warranty be between the two?
I don't know what the warranty is. Let me look on the estimate. That's a good question. It's 2 years unlimited for the new engine. I do know that. I don't believe there's you guys have copies of the invoice in your packet.
I don't see it on there.
Usually they do, but I just had a rebuilt engine in my car.
But we don't have the one for the new engine, right? You didn't get that one printed.
We're not there yet. We're still on this.
No, I'm
No,
saying
he
you
needs-
didn't print one up for the new engine.
I do have it now.
Oh,
I don't see a warranty.
Hmm?
On the rebuild, I don't see a warranty
Oh.
clause anywhere.
Well, if
Oh, I
we,
doubt if it is.
If we elect to scrap it because it's an old piece of equipment, actually it's only 13 years old. That's getting long in the tooth. If we elect to just scrap it, then we either operate without it, hope for the best, or buy a new one. And a new one's going to cost an awful lot more than that.
I think we should fix it.
So those are the three options we have. Rebuild it, replace the engine, or scrap it. And if it's a financial issue that we can't afford to fix it at this moment for whatever reason, we could mothball it and hang on to it until we have the money to fix it. It's a piece of equipment, it's an asset that belongs to this community. I don't think scrapping it or selling it at auction is the option.
Yep.
James?
If we have a piece of valuable fire equipment and we have a couple $100,000 in cash reserves, that suggests to me that we should fix it and not hoard the reserve money and mothball a piece of equipment. That just doesn't make sense to me. So the question in my mind is, are we better off? We're going to spend at least $11,000 to get it back in service, and that's to rebuild the engine. We should get a vehicle with a rebuilt. That'd get us a vehicle with a rebuilt engine. Is it a wise use of our money to spend an additional $7,000 and have a vehicle with a brand new engine in it?
Yes.
I favor that. I think, yeah, I don't think we should
Go with the rebuild.
to save some money when we can have a better piece of equipment.
I agree also, especially since the rest of the vehicle only has 36,000 miles on it. That's nothing for a diesel engine, or a diesel vehicle. So I agree. I mean, if we're going to do it, we should go all the way and do it right.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of halfway rebuilding engines.
Brian, I think you heard you say that's your preference. Put a new engine in.
Correct.
Yep. How about the rest of you?
Yeah,
I agree.
that's what the
Okay.
200,000.
I see a consensus, so I don't see a need to take a vote.
Well, we better take a look.
Oh, I still got to vote.
Is there a motion to replace the engine?
I make the motion to replace the engine,
Rescue 57. Okay.
Rescue 57.
Okay.
I second that motion.
Brian seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Okay, let's move on to the,
Can I say something?
oh, sure.
The reason we have a reserve is exactly for this reason. That's why we kept trying to build up our reserve, because if anything happened to any of our equipment, we would have the money to be able to fix it or buy a new one or whatever. That's why we kept trying to get it all the way up to, try to keep it at like 400,000. We're down to 200,000. I'd like to use that money for what it was meant for, and that's for the end to fix one of our vehicles. So
Thank you.
And we're going to need 100 of that to balance the budget next year. Item 15, accurate equipment invoice payments. Again, Chief Marinelli.
Okay, on this topic, and this could be a sensitive thing, and I don't want to go there, there's no reason for it. This is about paying our accurate equipment, their invoice that they billed us for. So a little while back, our primary frontline engine 56 went down for some work. And we can get into all that, I'd rather not, but if you guys want to, that's fine. There was an incident that occurred when I was on vacation that prompted our mechanic to stop work on the engine and refuse to finish it. So he sent it back up to us in a tow, and he followed it up with an invoice. The invoice is $5,218.85. I talked with him about it. I didn't feel it was fair to pay the invoice and we didn't get the finished product. And we went back and forth on the phone about it. This bill is for work he's done. There's actually a check written because I approved the invoice, but then I thought about it and I thought I'm going to bring this to the board and have the board decide on what we want to do, because we didn't get the truck back in working order. It's up in another place now, and I got the estimate for that. It's a whole nother can of worms. So going back and forth with the mechanic, he insisted that this is work that he performed on the truck, and I have the invoice here. Copies of that, so I'll pass this along. You can look at it. He did provide some information yesterday because he pled his case to me. I said we need to plead it to the board. I sent it all out to emails. There's copies if you guys want it. It's basically their statement of stuff that happened at the incident, but more importantly, he's willing to waive the cost of the tow, which was $700 back here, and he's also has another invoice that showed it would have been an additional $1,700 to finish the truck and get it in working condition, so he's not billing us for that. So the bill that on there is what he's asking to be paid minus $700 for the tow. So it's a board decision. If you feel like we should pay him for that minus the tow, then I'll take care of that. If you want to not pay him, then that's a litigation risk, I would imagine. I don't know. That's up to the mechanic. I feel like he did work. There's extenuating circumstances on why he quit and stopped working on the engine. He was put in a very bad place by personnel of the district, and that's one of the reasons why, or the main reason why he's not going to work for us anymore, which is his choice. It was also his choice not to finish the engine. I pleaded with him to finish it, and he didn't. So it was his choice not to finish it. But he was also put into a very precarious, uncomfortable position by personnel from our department, unauthorized by me. So that's the decision for you guys to make, how you want me to handle it.
So what, according to this, so did he do the $5,218 worth of work?
That's the work he did.
That's the work he did.
That's the
Well,
work he did. You have 3 invoices in here. Hold on a second, let me get to them. The first invoice is for the work he actually did, and then the second one, there's a couple pages, is for the work that he didn't do and didn't charge us for, an extra $1,700. I believe it is $1,744, and then the last invoice is a credit of $700.38 for the tow. That would be applied to the first bill of $5,200 because the tow was out there.
so you take away the
You
700.
take 700 off the 5218.85.
So
45
this check's going to be voided and then
Yes.
and adjusted to
Well, there's other evidence too.
the $700.
Not only the work that he did do was substandard. I've got an estimate from fire apparatus. They're saying that he removed and reinstalled the radiator, but they have to take it back out because it shows that it was not properly rebuilt. He said that the way the gasket pooches out on the bowls of the radiator, he says it's classic sign of over tightening, and he said that he would not trust it to make it through a service period. When he took off the cab, which he never should have done, instead of uninstalling things, he just cut the air conditioning lines, cut air lines, ripped electrical parts apart, did much damage to it.
Which I'm sure he would have fixed after he really did get going on it.
Well, but by removing the cab from the truck, it voided all warranties on the truck.
There was no warranty.
There were warranties on other parts of the truck. The cab is warranted for 10 years. If you would have called HME, they would have told you.
I did. They would not talk to me because of stuff you started with them. And
No, I was there on the 27th. You should have called them a month before when you were attempting to take the cab off. You should have called them and say, is it right to take the cab off to replace the radiator? It's not.
Actually, I did speak with Jim Simons from HME. I spoke with him on 3 different occasions, once also by email. And he did say the only issue was that the cab mounts were worn, which would have raised the cab up. Now, what he also said to me was that if you remove the cab mounts, everything should be fine. However, with the issue at hand, raising the cab up the extra half an inch would have made the rubbing problem worse, which I sent him pictures of. And he did say, yes, the cab does not need to be removed. However, we do have pictures as well, which I can send them to you guys. I can email them to you just fine, on how he was trying to reach the radiator to pull it out. There's no way, when you have the cab up on that truck, that you can fit 2 men, which we have one, who took over the whole space to pull out something that's 300 pounds. When you're trying to go up and over an engine.
Fire apparatus, when I was at Fire Apparatus, they had 57 vehicles in their shop. They've got multiple areas. They've been doing this for 34 years. I asked him that question. He said they've never taken a cab off a truck to remove a radiator. You can either raise it up and drop it out, or you sandwich it with plywood and pull it out.
Okay, so
He said he's never.
Chime in here a little bit. Chris called me, told me he needed to remove the cab, work on the vehicle. I went down, I looked at it, I fixed it. I concurred that was a way to fix it. So the responsibility of him removing the cab is on me. I'm the chief. I'm the only person in this room that has the authority to make those decisions. And I did it, and I gave it to him. So if you guys want to harp on somebody about the cab removal, and you want to say it was a bad decision on my part, that's where the responsibility falls, not on him. I've talked to other mechanics, and there's 100 different ways to fix the truck, and taking the cab out is one of them. So there's other ways to do it too. And that company I just got, and here's the estimate, are saying the charge air cooler's not in the truck. Well, I just texted him, and he just texted back, said, check the back seat, and he did. He goes, oh yeah, it's there. So, I think sometimes we have to sit back and get out of the mode that anybody's trying to rip us off, and just sometimes there's differences of opinions is what we have right here. Okay, that's all it is. It's a difference of opinion.
Well, I don't agree with that. In that all the mechanics I've talked to, there's never been a mechanic that said you have to take the cab off. Every one of them says do not take the cab. And Chris called a mechanic and asked if he should take the cab off to replace that, and they told him no.
Can you tell me who I talked to about that? Because I don't remember.
It'll come out in a lawsuit.
Oh, really?
Because you're going to probably end up suing us.
You're
I'm
kidding,
sure.
right?
No.
Okay, first off, I prepared a lot of radiators in Type 1 engines. I did one about 6 months ago up here, which are known to be really tough to do anything to. I did that one out there. I'm a busy one-man show.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be a one-man show.
Maybe you should stop interrupting me.
Maybe I've got more power than you.
No,
This is our board meeting. You're addressing the board. You're addressing the board.
Brian, you've been trying to embarrass this board.
I have not.
Every meeting. Now you're sitting here.
I'm
attacking this
embarrassing
guy
the board.
who's here to help us.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of this.
Brian, you've overstepped your bounds as a board member.
How did I overstep my bounds? According to Chris, I dressed up. I dressed up.
You said
I
you're not
dressed
volunteer
up.
anymore. That's what I heard.
Let's get back to the subject of.
We got lots of
what's on the
lawsuits
agenda.
coming.
We're arguing with each other over issues that are water under the bridge. They're in the past, and we've got business to do today regarding our equipment. Let's get back to it. Get out of this tit for tat with each other. Thank you for being here.
Can I make a motion? And I don't even know if I'm doing this right. I believe before this goes down the drain any further than it's going and we're facing libel, that we need to pay whatever the fair amount due in this.
$5,100 and change.
Is it?
45-ish. It's 45-ish.
He wasn't even our mechanic at the time either. He signed a letter in here. He signed our letter. He signed a letter here saying he stepped down on March 19th. The letter was dated March 19th that he said he was no longer our mechanic.
Yep.
And that's after. That's before
He's
the
not
March
on any
27th.
service agreement. He works at will basically when we ask him to work.
But he said he stepped down from doing all service with us on March 19th.
I authorize the work as the chief. It's in my contract that that's what I do. So we're on the hook for the fee of whatever you guys want to decide. And I think we should, my opinion is, since I authorized the work and the circumstances around it, it would be fair to pay him the invoice minus the tow. The $5,200 minus the tow. That's my opinion as your chief.
I disagree.
That's your motion?
Yes, sir.
I second it.
Motion's made and seconded that we pay the bill. The invoice as submitted, less the tow that the contractor has agreed to withhold from the bill.
It's $4,518.47.
Okay? That's the motion and the second to pay that bill. Is there any further discussion?
There's a second.
All those in favor say
Who's
aye.
seconding?
Aye.
What?
Oh, I'm so sorry I missed that.
Okay. Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no.
Absolutely not.
Well, there's no one left to abstain, so the motion carries. Thanks for being here. Thank you for the service to this district for the last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so sorry.
So before we leave that subject, since that was on the agenda, there's another invoice we're in for the 6th. And this is where it got told to, and it came in today, so to finish the truck and get it back to where this mechanic feels like it ought to be so we can use it. And looks like Kramer's name was on the contact, so obviously he was doing business without my knowledge. $10,778.25 to get the truck. So since this is such a contentious issue, I'm asking for direction from the board to go ahead and pay the authorized work to get done. That's our frontline engine, folks. It's 3 years old. We need to get that truck back here. That was my objective when I went to Chris in the first place, was to get it fixed and get it back as quickly as possible. Our new fleet mechanic, when I explained the problem to him, he said he'd be willing to drive up to there and take a look at the engine to make sure all the work they're proposing is legit, but he's not willing to touch it himself, because I thought maybe it'd be better to tow it down here and have him work on it, but he's not willing at this point, where it is, to do it. But he would go up there with me and look at it. So, but I need some kind of direction here on this new estimate.
Can you give us just a second to read this? Sure.
So, one item there.
I don't think we need a motion to authorize this expenditure. Brian's already, he's our new chief, has authorized the work.
Is that official?
Well, you've assumed the role.
I contacted them. They didn't know who to put on. But if you want me to take the role, I'll take it. Chief can retire right now. If you want to
You're
give
nuts.
it to me.
You're nuts.
You just told me. I mean, it's kangaroo court anyways.
Let's move on to the next item.
Jesus. Pay it.
Well,
You want to
authorize the work.
right now?
What does Chief feel?
We don't really have a choice at this point. I want that truck back in service.
We either let them,
Primary frontline issue.
we either authorize them to fix it, or it just sits up there until somebody can fix it. So let's make the best of a bad situation. I'd entertain a motion to, I'll make the motion that we authorize this work to be done.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Okay, I think
Motion carries.
Mecham.
Sure. Absolutely, Chief.
Thank you, Jack. So I'd asked for a moment of personal privilege at the break to address the board. I want to go back just to a moment for item 13, but it kind of carries to some of these things. I know that this is a very, very divisive issue in this community, and probably will continue to be. But there's a couple of things that I just want to put back in perspective. I have been very clear since day one, and I want to continue to be very clear, that this has never been about the guys and gals that work at the fire stations. And I want to recommit myself on the record that I want every volunteer in this department and every reserve in this department to stay part of the organization. I would hope in the next 3 weeks that I can set up a meeting to come up and start talking with those folks, getting a little bit and understanding their concerns or their issues as the LAFCO application gets filed. We need everybody to come together and make sure that we have everybody's input, no matter what ultimately is decided at LAFCO. Second, I think there was an important part that was left out that we had talked about during our terms and discussions. The county's position is that because the application is being filed, that we in essence are going to move forward on our side with our terms and conditions, and we will re-begin the re-establishment of the paramedic engine. By the end of today, I will have the complete boundary drop agreement reinstituted so that we will begin the priority move-ups back to Julian and drop all boundaries. So the Shelter Valley, the Laguna, the Intermountain, all of those ALS engines now will be folded back into the district. As you move forward, and I want to offer this to the board and have to make some decisions, especially about finances, we should probably have a discussion about where that medic engine is going to go, and I will certainly offer that as you go through this, if you need a county engine or you need something at this point so that you have adequate time to make some of these financial decisions, I would just encourage you to reach out through the chief and get in touch with me, and we stand here to help, whether it's vehicles or vehicle maintenance, those types of things, we'd certainly be willing to step in. But I really want to stress the volunteers. I'd like to set up that meeting and start hearing and working towards, if this does go through, what do we all want it to look like 6 months from now? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Mecham, for those kind words. We will get back to the agenda. We're at item 16, starting the hiring process for district chief position. Presenter Brian Kramer.
Those were both 16 and 17 were Buddy's items that he put forth on the agenda, and he never got back to me with what he wanted to discuss. But I know hiring process for chief, we got to hire a new chief. He's retiring at the end of May. So we've got to come up with criteria and put ads out there and start the process. Now, Buddy says he's got guidance. He can give us guidance on this. He said he's done it before, but he didn't pass anything to me.
Okay.
So we just have to start the process.
Let's roll this till next month then.
No, we can't hold it to next month. We have to start now.
Okay.
So we got to.
There's nothing to vote on.
We'll do a special committee if we need to. Buddy can head it up to however we're going to write the criteria. You know, we got to start this.
I gave you guys a little while ago, I wrote you,
Right.
I gave you recommendations that I thought for a new chief also, and I've also gave Jack a few ideas on different ways to maybe work on the budget, cut some savings, and restructure a little bit, maybe have a volunteer chief, paid an executive assistant type person on the higher salary. We have a volunteer fire department right now, so you could do it that way. There may be an opportunity with CAL FIRE to have them come in and help operationally and still have that higher paid administrative executive or whatever you want to call that person that handles the money. There's a lot of fire departments have a chief and they have a basically administrative executive that's basically equal to chief both work for the board. And they one person handles most of the operational stuff, and the other person handles all the administrative stuff, budgeting, because they got larger budgets, pockets of pool to play in. So that's another way you guys can reorganize. And I gave Jack a few of those ideas. I'm looking at what you guys are facing in the next few months and the year, and you need to make up a big budget hole. But then also there's definitely a need for a full-time chief, but then that changes also depending on what goes on with the LAFCO procedure. But you can always go to a volunteer chief now, and then at some point down the road, if it stays independent, then go hire a full-time chief if you get the money raised. So there's options, but it's not really up to me to decide since I'm leaving. I just have a pretty good picture of what's going on here and what's needed. And a lot of 9% of my work is not operational fire chief stuff. I have the knowledge and skills when I come out on the floor and I respond to fires, and I got a ton of qualifications. But most fire chiefs, they don't spend time on the ground fighting fires anymore. They're taking care of the business end of it, and they're making sure firefighters have everything they need to do their job. That's what the job of a chief is. And when I see all these folks coming through saying what a great job that's been happening around here lately, I say, good, I'm doing a great job, because that's what it's about. So that's what the chief should be doing, not out there single-handedly trying to put out every incident himself. So a chief should have those skills to be able to get the people to do the job, because you can't do it by yourself. So that's my input on it. You guys can tackle out, because it's a tough one. It's not much easier than what you just got done deciding. So, but I'm willing to help. I don't want to see this place go in any kind of disarray or confusion when I leave. Put a lot of my time here, and I still live in this community. Have no plans on leaving. So, and I've been here for a long time, so I'm very interested, and I'm willing to help whatever way you want. And I made that clear to the board since December when I made this decision. And that's why I'm still here, to help.
My concern with having a volunteer chief at this point would be the ambulance program and
The which program?
the ambulance.
Oh.
I think that we need to have an administrative paid chief, and that's why we've gone that route down the road, to the best of my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that also. When the district got the ambulance, that's when the decision was made that they needed a full-time paid chief.
It's $1 million contract. That I did the bid, and you're looking at $140,000 subsidy each year, not to mention all the collections. So you're talking about, it's multi-million-dollar when you go through the life of the contract. So yeah, I think that it was decided that you needed a big chief to administer that level of responsibility with funds when you're into it that deep.
But it's an administrative responsibility, not an operational responsibility.
Yeah, most of it is, but there's always those judgment calls that you have to make. And even though I've never been a paramedic, or there's still guidance that you have to set down as far as how to operate response things. You can order an ambulance. You're gonna make a decision whether to get some pieces of equipment. Prioritizing. So, for instance, we're going to apply for a San Diego Fire Foundation grant this year. Those are usually good. We've been doing about $30,000. I got to decide if I want to put all that into the ambulance end of it or in the fire end of it. You got to balance all those things. So there's that level of knowledge needed and experience that a fire chief has that is kind of needed there too. It's not all strictly administrative. The hiring process, knowing how to hire a firefighter, knowing to ask the right interview questions or supervising to make sure it gets done. It's mostly admin, but there's always that. That's why fire chiefs aren't just business executives. They're most of the time people that started underground and worked their way up. So they have all that full range of knowledge that it takes to do the job.
Okay. guess that's the first issue is what are we looking for?
Criteria.
Are
right.
we looking for a full-time chief or a part-time chief, which is what we have now, or a volunteer chief? I think it would be good to know how long the LAFCO process is going to be, to see how long we're going to be employing the chief. If the LAFCO process goes 6 months, then we're looking to hire a chief for 6 months or 4.
Well, whatever we do, we have to hire a new chief, so we got to get going on it.
Okay? We all in consensus that we do need to hire a new chief and that we should get the recruitment process going. Okay?
But last time, I think we all were involved in it, weren't we?
Yeah, we should have a special meeting and figure out the criteria, what we want, and then get an ad out there, but we have to do this quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it could take months to find somebody. You know, it takes a while to filter out there and find the right prospective person.
So is that your motion to have a special meeting?
Well, we're
We
still
should be
discussing
able to go through a recruitment process in, I think, 4 to 5 months at most. Depending on how long it takes to get our criteria together, and that shouldn't be a problem.
All right, we get a criteria out there, put an ad out there, see what kind of response we get, and then interview the people. See who fits our needs.
So,
Do
want
we
to get
wanna-
together?
Buddy gets back today,
Tonight
I
or something.
understand.
I'd say next week sometime if we could get together as a board.
Yeah.
On what day?
How about the 17th,
That's a Tuesday?
Tuesday?
Can you do that? What time?
I can work it.
10 o'clock?
Earlier.
Earlier?
Let's go 10 o'clock. 9 o'clock?
9? Sure. Let's get an early start.
Is that okay?
Work for you?
The
Work for you, Brian?
17th, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can confirm with Buddy.
And during this coming week, let's ask Missy and Rick to pull up the information from our last recruitment. See if we can avoid inventing the wheel again. Use as much of
Right.
what we had the last
Well,
time.
I'm sure our situation's changed a little bit, but,
Oh,
right.
sure.
Yeah, we need a starting point.
This is to hold a special meeting on the 17th?
Right?
Is this to hold a
Could be a special meeting. So we're
Yes.
all going to be there.
Does it have to be a special or just
We'll
a?
have to call a meeting. Missy.
Okay.
It'll just need to be posted here at the post office.
Okay. We don't need a public notice, Jack?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
If we're having a
Notice on-
meeting.
That's what I
notice on the
thought.
front door.
Okay.
But there's other criteria, I mean, instead of special meeting, there's other types of meetings, but whatever works. It should be,
I think we're supposed to post in 3 locations.
I know all that. I just want to, I
You
need
got
to
that.
post it in the paper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be kind of tight for a paper, but we should put an ad in. Notice.
Yeah.
Notice. Yeah.
you
Okay.
can, yeah, as long as you get to them by Sunday night.
Exactly.
If he knows it's coming, you can wait till Sunday.
Well, we'll have to get a hold of Buddy as soon as he gets home. Make sure he can make it. And I'll get together with the chief and we'll pull out whatever, talk about what we did the last time. Our notice will go. He's agreed, as you recall, to help us with the recruitment, call people that might be possible candidates, that sort of thing. All right? And we should be able to authorize the process at that meeting next week. Move forward. Typically, the ads go out within a week to 10 days, and typically they should be out for 30 days. Typically, after that, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to set up interviews, and then background checks. Couple months. If we put it on the fast track, I think we should get it all done in 3 months. Have somebody on board within 3 months. If that person is working somewhere and has to give notice, then that adds a couple weeks to a month. I would think we could have somebody here by July. Okay, everybody good with that? 17, entering into automatic aid agreement with Santa Ysabel Fire.
Okay, again,
That's Buddy's recommendation.
right. And he said, he didn't give me a time frame. He said he looked back at some records. I don't know how long a time frame it was or anything. He just said that in that time frame, they responded to 6 to 8 of our calls, and we only responded to 2 of theirs. So, but he just says we should get into an auto aid agreement with Santa Ysabel since they're our closest resource, and they can cover they can be in half our area before we're there, or at the same time as we are.
I'll give you my input on an auto aid with anybody else, regardless of who they are. There's 2 key types of aids that we use a lot in the fire service. One is mutual aid, where you get on scene and you request additional stuff, and that's usually free if it's less than $12. And the only hiccup with mutual aid is that other agencies don't have to comply with it. They're busy, they don't have the resources to send, they're at drawdown, whatever the issue may be, they don't have to have it available for us. Automatic aid, and I have our old CAL FIRE agreement, once it's expired, if anybody wants to look at it. Automatic aid is a little different animal. When you sign into a true automatic aid agreement, you've basically given up your control of that resource. So, for instance, if we sign an automatic aid with Santa Ysabel or Verona or Borrego, it doesn't matter who, and they break an incident, our equipment, whatever staff that day is on the dispatch plan for that area. So if you don't know what a dispatch plan is, all fire departments and dispatch agencies have dispatch plans. There are appropriate levels of dispatch for the incident. So you might have 4 engines and 2 water tenders or whatever for a structured fire. You might have 2 engines for a vehicle fire. You might have 1 engine and a rescue for a medical aid. It just depends. And they're canned. And it's a computer-aided dispatch that knows what to send. So if we enter into auto aid with Santa Ysabel and they get a structure fire out there Mesa Grande, our equipment's automatically going to go. We're not going to have any control over it. And so what happens then, and I know that there's been a lot of statements made about how great we're staffed, but trust me, I'm here. And it's not as great as everybody thinks. So on a particular day like today, if they break a structure fire and our engine goes, we have nothing in the district if the medic is off someplace else. So we don't have any control. And this is 40 years for me doing this in this type of work. And I guess when your hide gets chaffs enough times by taking those risks, you just get very risk adverse. So in my experience, the one time we send all of our stuff to Schoolhouse Candy to assist them is going to be the time I get the boat out on fire between that lake and I have nobody to send. So I'm reluctant to do that. Our CAL FIRE auto aid that we had here was for the district. Everything stayed in the district. CAL FIRE, we have the luxury of having 3 CAL FIRE engines in our district, and then we had our resources in the district. So the auto aid was for the boundaries of the Julian Creamacker Fire Protection District. So our units never left, neither did theirs. So it was always for that. So that's a picture perfect reason to have an automatic aid, because you're overlapping. Their jurisdiction is on top of ours. And if the case of Santa Ysabel, we're not. We have the same mission, but geographically we're separate. So we can pull, they can pull our resources away, and we have to give it to them because it's in the agreement. So mutual aid, which is what we have with them already. So we can request anytime the closest resources we need for a particular incident. So if I get a structure fire, well, I'll give you that shed fire, for example, that's been so controversial. When I got there in my command vehicle and took command of it, I requested immediately two more engines, mutual aid, and one of them was the engine from Santa Ysabel. They came, and they were the second or third engine on scene. So that mechanism is still there. The difference is we control our stuff. So if they break that structure fire under mutual aid and they call for Julian to help them, we can say, no, we can't spare the resources today. We don't have anything to send out district. The dispatchers will pull the next closest mutual aid resource. So that's kind of how it works. That's why I'm reluctant to do it, because I don't want, we're minimally staffed. And on a busy holiday weekend, when we run maybe 4 or 5 calls in a day, I don't want to run the risk of not having any resources in Julian to cover our calls, because it's a long ways for something to come. The next step is Shelter Valley or Descanso, or maybe Mount Laguna on mutual aid. So we're going to be standing out there for a long time without any help. Because Santa Ysabel obviously committed because they have our stuff there too. They don't get a lot of calls, about 100, the chief told me, 110, so it's not a lot, and the chances of it happening that way are pretty slim, I'll admit it, but I've been a chief long enough to know that I don't take risks like that. My responsibility is to the home front. Julian is my community, I'm the chief of this district, and so my responsibility is always here first. And so I'll always hoard my stuff. I won't give it away, especially since I don't have a lot to give away. So that's my input. That's the reason why I've been reluctant to go down that road. Board wants to direct me to do it. I'll start working on the agreement next week when I come back to work, or tomorrow, whatever. But that's up to you guys. But because you guys set the level of service.
Well, Buddy wanted it on the agenda to negotiate with them. I don't know what negotiations he had in mind. So
I agree with Chief.
I understand. I'm just
giving
I got stuck with putting it on there, so I don't know what Buddy wouldn't share his thoughts with me, and I don't have a mind meld. So
That's okay. We
if
appreciate
he,
you doing it. I just think we're putting
I think
ourselves
just
out there
either
to
we
get burned.
put it off to next month and let him present it with his arguments.
I'd like to hear from Buddy.
Yeah.
What he
So would
has
I.
in mind. Okay. Is there a motion to defer this until May?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Betty's here.
Well, Buddy's here. Yeah.
I make that motion.
Okay. Second? Brian?
Yes.
Brian seconds.
Oh, yeah.
We'll, all those in favor of deferring this until Buddy's here?
Aye.
Aye.
Maybe we can put it on the special meeting agenda. Pardon?
We
Let's
could.
just keep the special meeting.
Let's keep that to recruitment,
Well,
so we can focus on our chief recruit. We've been without an automatic agreement with them.
yeah, I don't know what Buddy had to add to it. So.
Another couple
Well,
weeks.
we have automatic aid back with CAL FIRE, and it was one engine they put back in here. So we do have their assistance automatically right now.
Rick, just, I don't know if we're, but we did reopen as normal fire season staffing, Quinn Act is open, so, separate of the county canceled right away, CAL FIRE always has had an agreement, so the Quinn Act and Julian engines are both responding to all the calls in the district again. And I'll get that county one stood up by the end of the day.
It's on your page. Okay?
That's it.
That's it. That's the end of the agenda. The motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Item
I
moves
second
to
that.
adjourn. Brian seconds. Not debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Sergeant?
They have the dog.
All right, Jeff, let's do this.
Okay.
Here, close this up.
Oh,
Blue pen.
I'll fill it in.
That's why I brought it.
And then one more, Jack. This goes to the county. Oh, we're good.
Try it.
And I got the meeting and I'm like, I know you did. You have to wait a second. Oh, no, no.
Okay, I see. Got the $2,300. Both sides are cracked on it. Yeah. There is. He said the one was on top like you thought, and the other one was on the bottom.
Good job.
We're getting a little feisty. Pissing people off.
You get a little. Hey, you got the chief thing going. You got the chief thing going, and you delayed the, yeah. That
I'll wait till last week.
Oh, well, let's wait until next month, May. Oh, wait, it's going to be gone in May. But you could be chief. I know.
Oh, sorry.
Rip. Rip.
Onward and upward.
Rip.
Thanks for being here.
Mecham lied to me and lied to the media. He told the media that he sat next to me. He said he sat next to me and we talked extensively and he said he was hard. He didn't sit next to me. I sat next to Jonathan Parton. And we didn't speak extensively. We said we're on different sides and don't take it personally as a media. And then he said he gave me a card and he didn't. He's just a liar. I don't trust liars. But that's what he said out to the media. And I said that I was worried about that kid. And they covered it up.
It's all going to be coming out.
Did you get a copy?
Yeah. Hey, is this yours?
I'm going to make a copy. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, he was one in the car, right? Who's I see?
It was a hard.
Huh? Right. We knew that. Like that. And what happened after that? What's that? Oh.
And so Mike came by this morning and brought that notarized statement to me.
Dave?
Every time somebody builds a new house, one of the association members goes out and says, what do you want to sign? All of a sudden, this big, green, number on it.
I know an awesome people.
Well, we got that. We got some good guys. It's just.
His name is John Nex.
We got. Ferguson's going to be good. Ferguson's good. And these guys that are working on the truck right now are good. just disgusting the way some of this came down. I mean, we should not be paying him for doing the damage to the truck.
Anyone who says that about the disabled,
Here you go. Here's your original.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, open heart.
Copy?
Oh, you want a copy? I don't want a copy. I'll make you a
Right.
copy right now.
Yeah, we all want a copy. We should all get copies.
Well, that's fine, but she handed it to me to ask me to make her a copy. So I'll get all of your copies.
Anything that's handed to the board, everybody gets a copy.
Here, I'll show you just real quick. July 6, 2017, White and Sierra presented today. And a call unit 50 couldn't find the line. After many tries to direct them in, finally had to proceed to whatever.
Landing zone.
L2, okay, landing zone. Oh, landing zone, okay. With patient, so responded with
50 responded with can't
50
find
50
and good
can't
luck.
find, good luck. Copy of Captain and then no rest. But with him, he said, here,